for this great opportunity. My name is NAMAZZI Christine BEEPATH. I'm a counseling psychologist at Hope and Beyond, that is Kampala, Uganda. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a week for mental health. I'm glad that we are putting a brick on mental health. And my topic today is family-based support, the master key to prevention and treatment of substance use. My major objective for this discussion is assessing the usefulness of family-based support in fostering the ultimate goal of prevention and treatment of substance use. Like we are into mental health. Mental health is the key to all health. There's no health without mental health. And we are looking at substance use as one of the elements that affect mental health. So we want to look at the family-based support system and how it fosters the prevention and treatment of substance use. Within my background, what do I have? Substance use includes the use of tobacco, alcohol, other drugs like opioids, heroin, prescription drugs, just to mention but a few. When we look at substance use, it is a whole family affair. It is not just a one member using. Actually, it affects the entire family. The individual uses the substance, but the effects go as far as the family is concerned too. Prevention and treatment is a journey for all family members. It can't be one person, but the entire family. As one person just appears to be a symptom bearer who comes out using substances, but actually the entire family gets affected and has the problem. Who is affected? We are asking ourselves, if a person uses substances, who is affected? It is the whole family. When we look at the whole family, what are we looking at? We are looking at the mother, we are looking at the father, we are looking at grandparents, we are looking at cousins, we are looking at neighbors. So we want to start at the grassroots if we are to handle prevention and treatment. Like I said, family-based support, the master key. The master key is the family. If we are to work on this global challenge of substance use, we have to start in families. We have to start at the grassroots. If we are to work on mental health, we have to first deal with it in families. Family as a social system to nurture our children. Every person comes from a family. What is a family? A family is a group of people affiliated by birth, by marriage, co-residence, and every person belongs somewhere. Every person has a family. It can be by birth. You can't get married. You can't coexist with another person, but you're in a social setting of a family. A family is a universal and necessary institution of human survival. Every person survives in a family. And the big community, the society, comes from a family. Family is the principal institution for socialization of members. It is within a family that children get the roots and the wings. Roots in terms of a foundation to hold them firm, and wings, that is the progress and growth of each person. In families, there is interconnectedness. There are interactions that have to go on. You have to depend on each other. You can't thrive as an individual. You thrive together. You work as a team. There has to be a structure. There has to be interdependence. There has to be the roles that each family member is supposed to do. And if we are to look at the roles of a family, we have nurturing. This is granting security, warmth, sense of home. We have maintenance. It is within a family that we get food, we get the clothing, we get the shelter. You know, it is within the family that we get the inclusion, the fulfillment of love, that sense of belonging. I belong somewhere. That identity, it has to be in a family. We have issues to do with self-esteem. How do members get to understand themselves that they have value? It is within the family that they get to realize that I have value. It is within families that we get to solve problems jointly. It is within families that we cultivate the compassion, reconciliation, and mitigation of family conflicts. In a nutshell, family is where individuals get the holistic growth, development that is in all spheres of their lives, physically, psychologically, socially, economically, and spiritually. Families never change. Families are similar across cultures with emotional bonds and growth. That's why I dug in. It is the master key. It is the master key to the prevention and treatment of substance use. It is within a family that a person gets to understand themselves. Family, it is where the struggle, against substance use is to be done together. A person can't do it in isolation. They have to do it together if they are to get recovery or prevention to be successful. Now, there is a challenge of substance use. Substance use is just a casual use of alcohol and drugs, but it quickly escalates into substance abuse. A person doesn't intend, to get that condition of misusing the substances. But as they try to experiment, as they try, to socialize or to glamorize a bit about substances, they end up abusing them. And health officials consider substance use as crossing the line into substance abuse if there is repeated use that causes impairment, such as disabilities, failures to meet responsibilities, risky using, and also interruption of the social interactions. Substance abuse is really a pattern of harmful use. There's altering of the body functioning, the brain, the cognition, the interactions, the perceptions. All these get affected. And in a nutshell, someone's mental health is really at stake. There are different types of substances that are used. There's alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, benzodiazepine, petrol, to mention but a few. We are asking ourselves, why substances? Why drugs? Why are people using these drugs? Research shows that there are biological causes, there are psychological causes, mental illnesses like depression, PTSD, personality disorders. But my focus today is the family risk causes. Like you can see, what happens within families that force people to use substances? The poor parental-child attachment. What causes this? Some parents are absentee parents. They're not at home. They mistake presence for presence. Instead of being present for their loved ones, they are not there. Emotionally, they are not connected. And there's that kind of loss of the bonding. There's also what we call the overparenting, where there's too much pampering of children. You give excessive money, excessive gifts without explanation, and somehow children lose out on boundaries. The history of family. The history of family substance and drug abuse. Some children are exposed to drug abuse at young age. When I give an example of my country, some of the parents are the very ones who are sending children for alcohol from shops. You find that in grocery shops, we don't have like alcohol shops. A person goes to buy sugar, but in the section where there's sugar, the next section where they have gone to buy things, that is a section of, like alcohol, like cigarettes. Things like physical, sexual, and psychological abuse in families. These things are real that cause people to go into drugs. Family neglect, child neglect. Some parents have neglected children. They're not there for them. The parenting styles. There are so many parenting styles that some of them are so rigid that as they are parenting, the children don't have a voice. It is status oriented, status obedience oriented. It is either status, we have to maintain the status. We are so and so's children. We have to be obedient. There are no questions. The parent is just a figure of authority who is not answerable to anything. So it causes a big problem. We have the breakdown of family systems, especially with things like separation, divorce. All these are risk factors that cause children, young people to get involved in substances. Poor parental monitoring and supervision. Parents are not there to supervise their children. And eventually, they don't know even who are friends to their children. They end up losing out on their children to substances. The parent education. Some parents are not educated at all. They never get to know what their children are going through. Because of that ignorance, the children start experimenting and eventually slip into substance abuse without the parents knowing. So like we can see what is in the picture. We are looking at the child and what is surrounding the child. Things like school. What is in the school? What are the influences of the school? The neighborhood. What is in the neighborhood? What is in the neighborhood? Then the peers. What is happening among their peers? This all causes a challenge. So my main focus is on the family, the risk factors, the risk causes within the family, and how they are contributing to the substance abuse. Continuation of that, we are looking at the environment and the social causes. Delinquency, poverty, poor neighborhood, it is all reflected very well within the picture. The school risk causes, that is also really a very big challenge. That it is the peers that teach our children things. They never get to learn from home, but they learn from fellow you know, they learn from their peers. They go into experiment. They never get to talk about these issues because of sometimes the parenting part of it. I can't talk about my issues with my mother, can't talk about my issues with my father because they are very tough. Eventually, these children get to understand themselves better through friends instead of understanding themselves in family. Now, I want us to look at the scope of the problem. Substance use is a global problem. If we are to look at some of the statistics here, I'm not going to go through all of them, but if we are to look at the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime report 2012, it is showing us 162 to 324 million people between the ages of 15 and 64. They used illicit drugs at least once. Okay, 10 to 14%, they develop substance use problems. In addition to that, the World Health Organization estimates that there are 2 billion alcohol users and 1.3 billion smokers. These numbers are really alarming. If we are to look at the cannabis and drugs across the world, you know, USA is showing us 87. New Zealand is showing us 85. These are really, really alarming percentages for people to be involved in drugs. Now, I am narrowing from the world to my country, Uganda, in East Africa. Like I told you at the beginning, I work in a rehabilitation center that is Hope and Beyond. We have alarming numbers of people using substances. 4.5 million people are estimated to have a substance use problem. This is by Kalema 2018. And most so other addictions. During the COVID period, just the COVID period, there was an increase in substance use among the youth, especially alcohol and cannabis, at 40%. 68% of road accidents in Uganda and injuries are attributed to drug and alcohol use. This is from the Uganda Police and Anti-Narcotics Commissioner report. Last week on CNN, they were mentioning cannabis. People are getting reinfected with the COVID, especially people who are using cannabis. So they were trying to ask, is it the lifestyle or the cannabis they are using? Substance production, acquisition, distribution, and marketing in Uganda has minimal regulations. People, you know, it is produced locally. People can get alcohol anywhere. People are planting marijuana, cannabis, and they are getting money. Restrictions are really, you know, minimal. And eventually out of that, the substance use problem in Uganda is really, really, really at a terrific rise. Still, UNADOC indicates that Uganda is a transit point for narcotic drugs to other parts of the world. My challenge, where are we going with this challenge of substance use? Still, I'm trying to show the evidence, the prevalence of substance use. We are trying to see the numbers. Colombia, Mexico, Belgium, Netherlands. If we are to look at alcohol, Colombia, it is 96.1. That is tobacco, that is alcohol. If we are to look at the cannabis in Mexico, 11.5, these are alarming numbers. These percentage damage, the mental impairment. Not only that, that harm is not only to the individuals that are using substances, but also to others, the community, crime and injury. If you are to look at the people who are using alcohol, check the percentages. This is really, really, really alarming. The adverse effects, we have looked at them, the health challenges. People are getting, diseases, the non-communicable diseases, the heart failures, the stroke, the kidneys, the behavior problems, aggression, hallucinations, addiction, stuff like that. The safety challenges, injuries, homicides, increased drug-induced crime, the socioeconomic challenges, counterproductive behaviors, work accidents, divorce, separation, domestic violence. These are really, really, really adverse effects which really need interventions. When we are to look at substance use, prevention and treatment is scarce and still foreign in the low developed countries. It's upon these alarming percentages, effects, and information above that we have a big problem of substance use. And it calls for desperate, and like I mean desperate, quick and desperate mitigation strategies starting at family level. If we are to start with family-based support, indeed, we will be able to handle this problem. Minding our mind is very key. I used a number of methods to find out things like random survey, review of the online alcohol and drug prevention, the treatment articles, the reports, among other things. Still, the catastrophic effects of substance use are enormous. The numbers are showing 83.88 report using marijuana, 2.08 million worldwide report using drugs. There is also an estimation of 76% of unsuccessful recovery stories. They are due to lack of family support. I mean, children going into substances, young people going into substances, and they lack family support. Eventually, they become unsuccessful in the journey of recovery. So, it's upon this that we need the families to get involved. We need the family to unlock, because it is the master key to unlock the prevention, to unlock the treatment of substance use. It is a global challenge. It calls for everybody, and everybody comes from a family. What do I mean when I talk about family-based support? The secure and healthy parent-child attachment. Every person needs to be loved. Every person needs to identify themselves with someone. And it is within family that we get the bonding. The parenting skills. In Africa here, we are so much authoritarian. We want to raise mini us. You raise a child, but you're raising a mini you. Sometimes these children also need to be understood. How do we raise this in our families? How do we jointly solve problems? If a young person in the family has a substance use disorder or a substance use problem, how best do we jointly address the problem? The emotional, cognitive, and financial support. This is really important. How best do we emotionally connect with our loved ones if they have a substance use problem? It's not only about talking empathy, I'll be empathetic. We need to cross and understand exactly how they're feeling. You may not have experienced the substance use problem, you may not be drinking, but at least trying to cross and go into their world and understand the emotions that they're having will help so much. If they need the financial support, it's not only giving them the money with conditions. I give you my money, you have to get well. I've been paying for your school fees. Why are you into substances? But knowing that these are part of you. It's a brick that if it is not added onto the building, onto the family, or if it is removed from the house will fall. And that house and that home is the family. The effective behavior management. We need to supervise the young people. We need effective disciplining. It's not about punitive ways of handling issues, punishment. You have done this, I've caught you with marijuana, you need to be beaten. No. How best do we get them to go on the right path without necessarily feeling punished, but with love, disciplining them with love so that they can come out of the situation of substance use. Sharing of the ongoing physical and mental health struggles. There's an area of the everything is hidden. Let us hide this. Let us hide this. This is a struggle of only this family. What if other people hear? No. This is supposed to be done together. Communication of the pro-family values and involvement. Every family has a structure. We have to be with values. These values should be communicated early enough to these young people within the family setting, that they get to know that our family believes in hard work. Our family believes in faith. We have to trust God in this. We have to do this the godly way. Our family believes in kindness. You pass on these values when children are still young so that they can grow within this. Repairing relationships and trust. Once something has happened, how best do we repair the relationship? Is there reconciliation? Are there avenues for forgiveness? All these are very important within the family. Then we have the cultural context and stigma. There are some cultures where they're like, once a person has done something wrong, it is wrong. It is, we can't identify with the person. Culture-wise, we can't identify with the person. Whereas there are also some cultures who are like, for you to be part of that culture, you have to use a certain substance. You have to use some alcohol. Actually, it is baptism of, baptism into the culture. How best do we address the cultural context and also the stigma such that, that sign of disgrace does not rub so much on the person, but actually we stand together as a master key to help the person move out of the dangerous situation. What is the importance of supporting families? They can overcome stigma and discrimination. More so, they can help their loved ones access support, treatment. If families are not supportive, most times the recovery becomes worse. The prevention becomes, a nightmare. The support that the family gives, it helps a person who is struggling to make difficult decisions on a daily basis. Let us look at the dysfunctionality or the dysfunctional family that exposes family members to substance use versus the functional family that fosters prevention and treatment. When we are to look at the dysfunctional family lifestyle, there's a lot of disengagement. The parent will provide maybe the financial support, but they are emotionally absent. Or when they are around, they are so much enmeshed. There are no boundaries. There's no structure. What happens? These things can come out as scapegoating, formation of defense alliances. People are having coalitions within one family. They're having sects, different groups within a family. Withdrawal of affection, loosening of family unity, the discharge of tension that comes out through repetitive fights and aggression, resignation and compromise. And eventually, what happens? There's also that family myth: we are losers. You did this, you can never come out. All these come out in form of dysfunctionality of families. Whereas we have the other side of the functional lifestyle: health engagement and attachment. People are congruent. They'll think about self, they'll think about others, and also the context. There's respect to each and everyone around them, and also the context. There's a team. People work together as a team. It's like, people who are playing football. You have the defender, you have the midfielder. Every person works together to score a goal. So a functional family will work towards helping each other. There's building of family unity. There's dialogue. That is effective communication. They're there to listen to each other. There's firm and consistency in terms of boundaries. They're each other's keeper. We need to be each other's keeper. And there's a family myth that we are conquerors. Even when they have a problem like substance use within the family, they believe that they can conquer together, not just as an individual, but they can conquer together as a team. When there's dysfunctionality in a family, there's what we call codependence. And people will assume roles, not because they want those roles, but because of the dysfunctionality. That substance use, people, there's a lot of confusion. You'll have heroes. They are there to sacrifice themselves. They're like the Jesus of the family. They cover up for the whole family, the feelings, the fear, the guilt. We have the scapegoats. They blame. There's that blame for most of the family challenges. They divert attention. They make a lot of fun, which is unnecessary. We have the enablers. They are protecting addiction. They are protecting all the bad behaviors within the family. And eventually, they don't seek help in case they need help. They don't come out together to resolve problems. So what are we looking at? We are looking at interdependence. If we could move away from the dysfunctionality that causes codependence, and we move towards interdependence, which is a key role in a family. In my conclusion, family-based support system is one of the pillars for substance use prevention and treatment. It is the master key. There are things we get in a family that we can't get anywhere. We are trying to celebrate the mental health. Within this week, we are celebrating. Actually, today in Uganda, it is 10 that we celebrate the National Mental Health Day. It is within a family that you get to understand your mental health. When substances come in, they take away our mental health. They take away our productivity and fruitfulness, our contribution to the society. It is within a family that we can get true love, passion, time, knowledge, respect. It is a pillar that can help us in the prevention and treatment of substances. We need to focus on starting the prevention and treatment within families, at the family level. Family members should be involved and used as a means of attaining successful drug prevention. Let us not wait for governments to come in to do this. Let us start in our homes, in our neighborhoods. A word or two is important. Substance use escalates so easily into substance abuse. Actually, the difference is the similarity. There's nothing like just substance use. Most times, it is a gateway to substance abuse if a person continues using. And it has serious repercussions to not only the individual, but to society at large. Substance abuse is a pattern of harmful use, and it really, really closes, it really, really shatters society at large. Substance use is on the rise globally, and more so in Uganda. Some people are still taking cannabis lightly. They're still fantasizing about cannabis, glamorizing it, you know, especially during this COVID period. Some people are using it as some of the aroma tea. Parents are sending children to go to the gardens and just pick these leaves and use them on tea. I mean, something like ginger, but actually, cannabis is on a rise. It is a gateway drug that leads to hard drugs, and it shouldn't be played with. Substance use has significant effects on the mental health of a person, the family, community, and the nation at large. Prevention is better than cure. Would rather prevent before a person gets to those severe stages, which requires treatment. But treatment is a lifelong process. Just like you go and treat a person with diabetes or high blood pressure, even when it comes to substance abuse, it requires that long life management. So prevention is better than cure. But still, if a person has escalated and has moved into the stage of substance use disorder, then treatment is really important. Recommendations: create more awareness on the increased level of substance use and the adverse effects. Create awareness, sensitization. This should start in families. How do we do it? We have things like WhatsApp. We have things like Instagram and Facebook and what. You can start with simple things like your profile, your status, and you put something to do with mental health, something to do with substance use, stop substance use, something small. You start at the level where you are. Start where you are. Create that awareness. The need for family support, involvement, and therapy. Substance use is real, and it is in families. We need to get involved. We need to journey with our loved ones. Provision of services such as counseling and psychoeducation. Counseling is sharing. Counseling is making sense out of what a person is feeling. Families shouldn't hesitate to go in for counseling. Families shouldn't hesitate to get psychoeducated about substance use. It is really a challenge, and we really need to get to know what it does to a person if we are to really work on the mental health. Alternative group activities to keep the minds busy. Family members should always get involved in some activities. Get an activity you can play. You can play together with your family. You can get a game. Get the family involved in some activities that keep them busy. These young people are fond of going to friends because, maybe home is boring. Get involved. Get something to do with them. If it is a game, play together. Learn from them as they learn from you. There should also be measures for harm reduction. Activities, drama, sports. In case treatment camps where at least people should get to know about the dangers of substance use. Culture adaptation. It is within a family that we get to know the cultural leaders, the community leaders, the influential people in our cultures, in our areas, that we embrace prevention and treatment of substances. Holistic treatment programs in case a person has reached that level of severity. Holistic in terms of make assessments, the counseling, relapse prevention. These should all be in treatment centers. Then also recovery support groups. The Al-Anon. Al-Anon is for the families, for the individuals that have a person with a substance use problem. These groups, they're there to support each other. They're there to share their experiences. And they are equipped of how to journey with a loved one who has substance use problem. Teamwork. Why am I emphasizing teamwork? A family is a team. It's not just a group, it is a team. We work together. Whose job is it? If we keep on saying it is this one's job, it's the other one's job, then the job will not get done. Not until we work together and we know that every person is supposed to contribute something. That's when we'll get the sustainable outcomes that we want. Together we stand, apart we fall. Advocacy, we continue advocating in any way we can from the family level. And research should also go on so that we are able to prevent and treat substance use. Those are some of my references. But finally, as I conclude, what is an individual's life? An individual has family and friends. They have the workplace. There's the community. All of us who are on this forum, we should ask ourselves, what should we do differently in our spheres of life? How best do we keep our mental health? How best do we take care of each other? What should be done differently? As a person, what should I do differently? More so, taking care of our family. The family is the bedrock. You can't go to the workplace when you have left the family shattered. It is within the family that when you go outside and you have left your family well, that you'll be able to serve the outsiders. We need to take care of our families. When it comes to substance use, we need to handle it at the family level if it is to stop, if we are to foster prevention. We need to take care of our family members. We need to take care of each other. We should do things differently. And we do things differently. Where do we start from? We start from our families. Thank you very much. Today is the Mental Health Day. The minds need to be cared equally. They need to be cared for equally as the body, because we need to remember that one cannot stay healthy without the care of the other. My concluding remark: what is our God-given role as we are in families? Our God-given role, our God-given potential, our God-given responsibility is to take care of each other. And what do we give back to God? Which kind of accountability do we give back to God? Is how we have taken care of each other. My dear listener, it's not about fixing that person who has a substance use problem. It's not about fixing the mind of that person. It's about fixing the relationship you have with that person. Indeed, it's a sure deal. It's a sure ticket to give back God the accountability. Let us take care of each other. Let us keep loving each other. Thank you so much for listening. Yes, I'm getting you very well. Thank you very much. Again, I repeat, I work with Dr. Kalema, that is at Hope and Beyond Rehabilitation Center. What is the role of the mental health professionals? Mental health professionals should always have that kind of supervision in the work which they do. They should always, try to treat others with that kind of consideration of what is this person going through. Let them get supervised. Let them do what we call the continuous education so that they get to know more skills of how to help out people who are having mental challenges. Let them try to use the evidence-based practices that can help out in the prevention and treatment of substances. A person does not wake up one day to be addicted, but it is a progress. Addiction progresses through stages. So if it is to be handled, there should always be that supervision, continuous training, that acceptance, as in treatment of addiction is not really something which is to do with maybe making money, but you have to have that call. You have to have that anchor in you that I'm to help out people, so that you are to be non-judgmental. You're to treat them with respect. What do they need? For I, who has dealt with them in Hope and Beyond, they just need that kind of understanding from us. They're so much used to their substances that they don't need a person to tell them what to do. They don't need control. What do they need? They need a person to understand things from their perspective. Once you're being empathetic and you're able to meet them in the middle, then most times they're able to embrace recovery. Another thing, talking to the families to get involved. We still have the issue of stigma. Even as the mental health workers who work, in these things, there's that issue of stigma that if you work in people who are having mental illnesses, you're also having something wrong with you, which is not necessarily the case. But if you're able to embrace it with love and compassion, you get supervised, you always get innovative ways of dealing with them, then success is really a sure deal. Thank you very much. I hope I've answered you. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, at Hope and Beyond, we provide treatment of different addictions, but especially substance use addictions, alcohol and substance use. And we use a number of therapies. We use a number of activities to help out people who are having addiction. Some of these, normally we do treatment, we do detoxification, of course we use medicine, and a different number of psychotherapies. Dr. David Kalema emphasizes so much, is the managing director, is the executive director for Hope and Beyond. He emphasizes so much the use of evidence-based interventions. Actually, we use them as a guide, as models to guide our treatment. Things like the family-based interventions, how best we get to families, the more systemic approaches and stuff like that. But we use a number of different psychotherapies. Take an example. Within the group therapies, we have things like life skills, so that we equip people with skills of knowing and living with self, skills of making effective decisions, and also skills of knowing and living with others. We have also what we would call the experiential therapy and testimony. People come out to share their experiences, and somehow the clients get to rely on each other according to the experiences they have gone through. So we do that in experiential and testimonial. We also have motivational interviewing, where we get to motivate them to look at change. We also do what we call occupational therapy, such that as they leave the place, they have also other hands-on activities that they can embark on after leaving the rehabilitation. Most times we receive in young people who haven't finished school. So they come in and we do the occupational therapy. We do things like art and craft, making soap, the gardening and stuff like that. Such that as a person goes back home, they have another skill that they have gained from the rehabilitation. Most still, we also train them things to do with what addiction is all about. We do that kind of psychoeducation. We teach them about the kind of drugs they're taking and the effects they have on the body, the family, and how their families can support them. We also do the family education and family sessions to the parents, to the loved ones. We invite them and we teach them about the different topics, things to deal like to deal with stigma, things to do with communication, improving communication in the family setting, and also the different ways they can journey with their loved ones. Then we also equip clients with strategies of relapse prevention, such that as they get out of the center, they know exactly how they are to deal with the triggers outside there. We also carry out the treatment, what we call the outreach, where we go in and we make like treatment camps. And we are able at least to provide also this kind of sensitization to the community. Right now, we are opening up our new home. It is, of course, it's not in Kampala. It's like 25 kilometers from Kampala. It is spacious, and we're about to open it. And the first part we have looked at is how do we provide a clinic for 10 days, which is free, so that we are able to create that awareness, to sensitize people about the issue of substances. So we use multiple activities, multiple psychotherapies to help out the clients. Most so, we also use the medication-assisted treatment, where people are able to get at least things like naproxen implants, so that they can also control on the cravings and things like that. Basically, it's about prevention and treatment of substances. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, actually in Uganda, I'll talk because I understand so much what is within my country. We have the Uganda Alcohol Policy Alliance. That is an advocacy for, controlling the substance, controlling the alcohol harm. This advocacy was started, and it is trying to see how best we can, work on the regulation of marketing, distribution, production, and it is in contact. We are trying so much. I'm part of the advocacy. I'm part of UAPA. We are trying so much to lobby to get through to the government, but when it comes to the government, there is that slow way of implementing things. The National Alcohol Control Bill is almost ready, but launching it has taken us, time. There's that kind of slowness to implementation of things. And when we look at the resources that are distributed towards mental health, they are really minimal by government. For us, this side, mental health is given less attention. That if we are to go to rural places, people do not know that even substance use is a mental challenge. To them, they see it as a character flaw. They see it as a moral decay. So I'm appealing to the government, if at least they could come out and put more sensitization, put more resources, put more mental health workers, at least at every regional, hospital, or, at every health center. Such people are having these issues, but they go into these hospitals and there are no mental health workers. Sometimes the suicide is in Uganda now is really a challenge. Suicide, depression, substance use, but the policymakers are still very slow in implementing. What we are doing, we are trying so much to advocate. We are trying to put up things like, recovery walks. We are trying so much to sensitize. We go on to these private radio stations, TV stations, and we are talking about these issues. Why are we doing this? We want to get through to the government to act. But somehow the implementation is really very slow, very, very slow. And regulations towards this thing of the substance use, some of them, they catch them with the cannabis. The police can catch them within the next 2-3 days. They are left to go. Somehow it is still a challenge, but we urge the government to get involved and distribute at least resources that will help in this area of mental health. Thank you so much. My message to all our listeners, all humanity, mental health is for everybody. Even the unborn child has mental health. It is our responsibility. Like I repeat myself, whose job is it? It is our responsibility to take care of each other. Mental illness is as normal as possible. Any person can get a challenge. Any person can get stresses of normal life, and this affects their mental health. Let us be each other's keeper. We need to develop the resilience. How do we develop the resilience? We depend on each other. Let us take care of each other. Gone are the days where we would be selfish, for me and myself. No, let us have the attitude for me and for others. Taking care of each other is very important when it comes to mental health. If you have spent some days without hearing from a loved one, give them a call. If you can't give them a call, send a text. Take care of each other. Who is priority? Priority is those people that are around you. When you invest in them, it is a sure deal that God will also invest in you. My word, mental health, it needs to take care of each other. When we take care of each other, we are able to build the resilience. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I was looking forward to this. I'm sorry about the technical issues. We are in a low developed country. Sometimes the internet is really a challenge, but I'm glad you got through to me and I was able to present. Greetings from Uganda, from Hope and Beyond. And we continue urging you to put the brick on mental health. We really need the mental health. We need to grow together.